up, everybody? Scott Jones here, Athlete on Fire. A little bit of becoming ultra action today. We're going to talk to a couple runners I coach that just did some big stuff down in the desert, which is pretty sweet. Today I got my little notes over here. So for the video people, see my head bouncing all over the place. First snow day of the year, about 4 or 5 inches. Drove past all the idiots on the side of the road driving way too fast. It happens every time. So I live up in the mountains here in Colorado, and every time the first couple of snows come, people think that I don't know if they think it's rain or what, but it's always trucks and SUVs sitting over in the ditch. Usually people are fine. They're just gunning it too quick. I had a Jeep pull out in front of me and fishtail for about 5 minutes, and I just laid on my horn on them. Felt bad, but come on, people, learn how to drive. First snow day of the year. Typical Colorado fashion. The skies are blue already, and snow's starting to melt off a little bit. So pretty cool. Sitting here on a Friday, and what we got today? I have a little story from yesterday that made me feel good. A little pay it forward situation. Gonna bring a couple athletes on here in a few minutes. Always gonna yell out. Always gonna give a little shout out to the family. Little guy, my youngest, West, little shout out for you, man. This is so cute. So he's 9 years old. He's just starting to use the computer at school and figuring things out. And they're learning how to do presentations. So he's doing like a PowerPoint style presentation. And he's already cried a couple times over this in a really cute little way because he wants to finish this thing. And last night his brother was bothering him. So here's the story. He's putting together a presentation on foxes for me and Lauren, my wife. And he's so into it. This is stuff that we used to do for school back in the day, and he's doing it for fun. So it's on my computer so I can see it. He's not listening to the podcast. He has no way to listen to it, but he's got all these facts about foxes and all the sounds they can make. And he's finding pictures on the internet and he's putting it on there. And this morning I told him he's got basketball practice after school. And we're like, yeah, we're going to go into town. We got to get a couple things for the house, food and stuff. We live 25 minutes away from the closest grocery store. So you got to plan for it. And then we're like, yeah, maybe we'll do a movie night. And this is right before he got on the bus, he started getting a little teary eyed because he thought he wasn't going to be able to do the presentation and work on it and have it ready for us. And we're sitting here telling him, like, we got the whole weekend for this thing, man. It's okay. But I love it. He's getting this work ethic about him. Both my kids are getting this work ethic about themselves, where they get really focused on something when they start it. And man, I need more of that in my life anyway. So shout out to West. Really cool. Awesome update in my other family news. My nieces, Ave in Ireland, they're 13 now, and they got their first phone just for communication. They're going out with friends and stuff, and sporting events and stuff, so they can keep in touch. They live rurally as well, out in West Virginia, so they can keep in touch with their parents. But now we got a direct line to them, so it's just been really cool to be able to talk to them as they grow up. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are experiencing a lot of the same stuff as well. So big shout outs to some family stuff. Story yesterday, this made me feel good. So I was going to a grocery store to grab some fizzy drinks. Look, I'm not sponsored by these guys. Where's my camera? Boom. Aha. This is going to be my resource at the end of the day. We're talking about resources on all these shows as well. But I was just checking out, trying to do better with some nutritional stuff and keeping some sugar out of my life. It's so bad. Anyway, I had the checkout thingy, the little self-serve deal. And this guy, probably a couple years younger than me, I would guess, with this little, probably 3 or 4 year old boy, they had some cupcakes sitting in the bag. And I could just overhear the conversation next to me, and he was talking to the checkout guy, and basically he brought his Apple Pay, but he didn't bring his wallet, and it was just like a last minute little trip, and he wasn't really thinking, and it was like, the thing's like $8.30. Overheard him, and I offered to pay for it, and I just threw my stuff on there and paid for his, and he was very reluctant at first. I was like, hey man, just pay for it. I was like, I know what it's gonna be like walking out of here when you got the little dude with cupcakes. And you gotta explain to him why, and the kids always adjust, but it just made me feel good, man. Just he looked me in the eyes and shook hands, and he said he would definitely pay it forward. And the clerk came up and told me how cool it was, and felt really good about it. It was a cool feeling. I've been able to do that a handful of times out where I live in the last 5 or 6 months, and that's been really cool. But just not to give myself too much credit. Not even 5 minutes later, there's a little road rage going on. Crazy people on the roads, man. We're going to talk to Bailey and Katie about this here in a second. I don't know why people have to try to pass on the friggin' side of the shoulder when there's ice everywhere. All right, lady in the Audi, I know who you are. We made eye contact. You act like I didn't see you. You're trying to run people off the road. Not cool. So that's like 5 minutes after I paid for this cute little kid's cupcake. So no, I'm not tooting my own horn here. I have to tell you guys, I'm still kind of a psychopath in other ways in my life. So yeah, there's my shout out. And then really quick shout out to one of my other clients, Nick, who trained really hard for his first ultra down in Florida last week. The dude is a beast, awesome family man. He teaches Spanish at high school up in Washington State. We have a lot in common. He played basketball in college, and we talk sports a lot, and he had his family down there. But here's the shout out. Not only did he go finish a pretty tough 50K, he went to Disney World with his, I think, 9 and 6 or 8 and 6-year-old daughters and wife for the next 5 days. That's friggin' beast mode. I got lots of people listening that run long distances, and personally, standing around the line at Disney World all day after running my first 50K is not on the list. It's friggin' badass. I'm just pumped, which is a good segue actually, because we got Bailey and Katie here chilling. They just ran really far last week. I was gonna say they both ran 100, but 100K. Actually, they did both run 100K and 100 miles. So there you go. And can you guys, first of all, what's up, ladies? How you doing?
Hey there.
Hey, good morning.
That's Katie. That's Bailey. Katie's coming out of California, near not Sequoia.
Yep, Sequoia.
Yeah, Sequoia. And Bailey's coming from down in Denver. And I'm just kind of laughing. Can you guys imagine going to friggin' Disney World after doing something as long as what you did last week?
Absolutely not.
Not even the
No,
walk.
that makes
No
me
way.
cringe.
Just the standing alone, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I would not be able to stand in a line. There's no way.
It's the
Yeah.
most uncomfortable. I mean, sitting is pretty uncomfortable, like at 90. I mean, your two options are like slow walking or laying down for what feels
Right.
good after this thing. It's a weird dynamic, right?
I
So
feel like
as
I
you-
could barely get my shoes in my feet in my tennis shoes anyways. Like standing in that would be awful.
oh my gosh.
Right.
Well, so I started Athlete on Fire like 2014, and it's gone through all these evolutions. Like I was interviewing just like high level professional athletes and endurance athletes for the first year and a half. I was doing 3 shows a week, like prolific, psychotic, didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't have anywhere to drive them to. I was doing online coaching at the time. I don't know. It's just something I wanted to do. And then scheduling people that are out of the network is just the scheduling is such a pain in the ass. And then now that podcasting is popular, I get 2 or 3 emails a week about people wanting to come pitch and hawk products. It's so obvious, and that's just frustrating. Like I don't want to bring these people on because this feels like a friggin' commercial. So I said, screw it. I'm just bringing friends and clients and people that I've worked with, and we're just going to chat it up. I was telling a story before you guys got on. I was at the grocery store yesterday, just picking up some of these fizzy drinks. I'm freaking addicted to these things. The little
Oh, they're so good. Oh, so good.
It's ridiculous. And because we were going to be snowed in, I was like, and it's like 25 minutes to get to the grocery store. And this guy had his little, probably 4-year-old boy with him, and he was getting some cupcakes at the checkout line. And he only brought his Apple Pay, which I've never even used. And so he didn't have his wallet with him. So he's going to have to walk out after getting cupcakes with this kid. And I was like, no, I got you, dude. So I paid for him, and I walk out, and like the clerk is all night. I felt good. Like I don't want any big attention. I'm like, yeah, just pay it forward, whatever. And then I get in my car and I drive like on a freaking ice sheet for the next 5 miles. And then it kind of got better. Probably 10, 15 cars on the side of the road. And this lady, because her exit is next, there's a truck in front of me with his hazards on, or it ended up being her hazards on. There's a car in the ditch. So there's no way to get on the shoulder to pass people. This lady comes up on the shoulder and tries to cut in front of me. I was like, no, you're not. I don't do the road race thing, but you're not cutting in front of me right now because this car in front of us is about to back into both of us. And she made eye contact with me for like a second, and I was just laughing because it's like I just did this really nice like pay it forward moment. I'm about to go whoop this lady's ass in about 2 seconds. Like, it was ridiculous. Oh, but you have all the truck, like this time of year, you have all the truck. So the truck that was spinning out, you have all these big old trucks that don't have any weight on and they don't
Yeah.
have snow tires on and they don't know how to drive. The girl driving it was gunning it in ice. I'm like, what are you
Oh,
doing? And then Bailey, since you're a Jeep owner, this Jeep lady pulled out in front of me and fishtailed coming towards me for like, I don't know, 100
no.
yards. I was on my horn yesterday more than I haven't been in like, so yeah, I do something nice, go ruin the world. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds about right for a Wrangler, though. These things are awful in the snow.
They seem like they would be really
Mhm.
light on the, just a compact truck. You got to put a lot of weight in, I'm assuming, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you'd really have to weigh down the back for them to be a decent vehicle.
Yeah, crazy. So yeah, so this is what I'm doing. I'm doing resources and doing shout outs to family and stuff like that, and just making it a little more personal than it has been in the past. And I'm doing a lot of entrepreneurial stuff right now, so I want to talk about that as this evolves. And I'm doing video more, which is cool. The only problem with that is I can't upload anything where I live because I tried to upload like a 20-minute video the other day. I woke up, I hit upload when I went to bed, and I woke up and it said 1% uploaded.
Oh.
I was like, no. And then I went to town and it took 3 minutes to upload. So it wasn't like it was anyway. I wanted to bring you guys on just to hang out a little bit. I haven't talked to you guys on face to face. I talked to Bailey a little bit the other day, just about Javelina and the race and how you guys are recovering, and just let people know out there, like there are crazy people out there in the world that are doing some pretty cool stuff, and this stuff is for everybody. I believe that. I know you guys believe that as well.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how are you guys feeling?
Yeah.
I don't know. Katie, why don't you just let people know what Javelina
Yeah.
is and what the course is like, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. I just picked one of you, so
Yeah. So Javelina is gosh, it's out the race is out in McDowell State Park in Arizona. So just outside Phoenix and outside the community of Fountain Hills. And the race is set up where you do 5 loops in the park. And the first loop is about 22 miles, and the 4 loops after that are just under 20 miles, like 19 point whatever, whatever gets you to 100. And gosh, it's this course was really beautiful. It has a lot of saguaro cactuses scattered throughout. Really pretty terrain. You got some cool desert mountains. And there's just a lot of rollers on the course. And it was funny. Bailey and I were running together for the first lap. Just me and Bailey so easily just fall in together on a lot of these races. And we were joking that the elevation just seemed so minimal, and we had a hard time like kind of deciphering whether or not like we were actually on a hill or we were on a flat, and should we be walking, should we be running. And because the elevation over the 20 something miles is maybe 1,000 feet, maybe between 1,000, maybe 1,500. And I remember at the last lap thinking like, oh my God, I'm walking this huge hill. And the elevation was very apparent at that time. And it was fun to kind of see one of my favorite things about that course is it was fun to see how it changed throughout the day and how it changed throughout the race. I thought I was going to get really bored with the 5 loops and that it was going to be just like, whoa, like, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. But there was a beautiful monotony in it, and it was fun to see how it changed so dramatically from the first lap to the last lap. Whether it be running it in the dark, feeling every bit of those little uphill pushes. It was just a neat course. Really, really beautiful out there.
that's a good point, because like I used to hate. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of loops, but 20 miles. I mean, you're not memorizing every aspect of a 20-mile
Right.
loop. It's too long. And then just like getting all the different parts, because the desert's so stunning in different parts of the day. You got the sunrise, the sunsets,
Yeah.
the dark. It's all pretty unique. I'm sure the middle of the day wasn't the best, but how was it for y'all out there?
Like 85, something like that.
I think it's 85. Yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah, but
Not
it
cold.
it wasn't cold. Yeah, but it wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. The ice, being able to pack your body with ice and with the cold, they had the volunteers and the aid stations were so amazing. These people were just the real heroes of Javelina. Those volunteers out there, they just how do you keep ice cold, like, or like ice in the desert? I don't know how they did it.
They have trucks.
But
That's my guess.
right. So but just being able to like stuff your sports bra with as much ice as it can go, like your hat and all these things, and having those wet sponges just to like wet down some of those hot spots on your body, or like the back of your arms or the back of your calf or whatnot, was I think made the heat a lot more tolerable.
Yeah.
I think so
in a lot
too.
of ways. Mm-hmm.
So we're not gonna go over the whole race because it's just a huge thing. But
So
I've been working,
yeah.
been working with you guys for a little while. Like you guys have both had different physical challenges throughout the thing. I mean, hernia for one of y'all, IT band stuff for the other, and a litany of other things that are not worth talking about. On just to be said, like you guys dealt with a lot of legit issues in your training, and no train. There's never a perfect training block. I've never had like there's people who do really, really well and like there's no injuries involved, but there's never a perfect training block. Life happens, right? So let's go to Bailey for a little bit. You both went out there to get the 100 miles. Bailey, you had to call it after 100K, which is 3 loops, 62 miles or so. Just talk about what led you to the decision, why you're okay with that decision, because I think you made a great decision personally.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll bounce it back and forth and just talk about mindset off of that a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously I've been having a lot of IT issues leading into this race, so I knew like going into it my training volume wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be, and like the time on feet wasn't exactly there, but I was like, I'm gonna go out, give it my best, see what happens, and just like take it as it comes. So around, I guess, like midway through my second lap, I started getting like, I don't know, some joint pain, which I knew was expected, but not necessarily expected at like mile 30 maybe. But at this point I was just happy that like it wasn't having any knee issues, and I was like, all right, well, we'll just keep going, right? So I get to this end of the second loop and I'm just like, okay, like still gonna keep going, but I'm definitely feeling some significant pain at this point in time, but like maybe it'll wear off, maybe it'll plateau. And I think in my third loop, I get maybe 5 miles into it and my hips are just screaming at me so loudly. And I'm like basically hobbling at this point. I don't know if we want to call this like a ultra shuffle or a fake run or a advanced mall walk maybe. But it wasn't a run, whatever it was. So I knew that since I was at the point of an advanced mall walk for about a quarter mile and then like putting my
what are you
hands
saying?
on my
Mohawk?
mall.
Oh, okay.
Like
mall.
like think old ladies in the malls that like
Mall walk.
yeah. I'm
It's
serious.
like, what the
That's
hell is
I
a
was looking
mohawk?
like.
I've never heard of a mohawk. Not like a mohawk for walking? Okay, sorry about that.
Special breed.
Yeah.
But no, the last 15 miles, I guess, from lack of time on feet, maybe my hips just weren't having it. So I was like putting my hands on my knees to take off pressure on my hips, and I kept having to do that. And past a certain point, I was like, 100K is great, especially for like the training that I got in, and I'm gonna call it while it's type 2 fun and not type 3 fun. So by the time I got back in from loop 3, Rebecca, best crew ever, right? Like she was on top of it. She tried so hard to talk me out of calling it, but I was like, no, like even after a piece of pizza, this is getting called. So
All right, so a few things to unpack there. First of all, type 2 versus type 3 fun. We all three of us know that because we've done some stuff together, right? So type 2 is when it sucks while you do it, but you look back on it fondly, right? Is that how we decided that? And then type 3 is when it sucks when you do it and you don't want to do it when you're done. Is that kind of what we're okay? That's what I thought. Okay, so things that Katie said, the hills feeling huge at the end. It's so funny because you get so in tune to your pace when you train for these events. Like you can I don't know, I can when I'm really tuned in, I can ballpark my pace within 10 seconds when I'm out there running. But then hills, you get a good idea of like how much vert you're getting per mile. And it's just funny because like Boston, like the Boston Marathon, they had that heartbreak hill. And you hear so many horror stories, and then as like trail runners and mountain runners, you go look at it and it's like a few feet basically. But you can feel all those little hills. It's just crazy. And then one other thing off of Bailey's, and this is something we didn't really talk about this on our post race call, but I said 100% right decision. But the one thing that kind of stuck in my head about how you made that decision, which is something for people listening that we're trying to help other people with these calls. You decided with about what 10 or 15 miles that was your last lap.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my advice for anybody, like staying present when you're in pain is freaking hard because you just want to be done, right? Um, but you decide you were done with 15 miles left, but you still went and did 15 miles. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that is how in the heck do you get your head right? It's the same thing with like fueling up during these races. How do you like it's so hard to eat because your hormones are all out of whack and like your chemical makeup is out of whack. But I think the skill that all of us need to work on better is like get to the next spot and then decide. Like as hard as it is
Yeah.
to wait to decide, you need to get there before you decide. And that's a skill that you just got to get out there and experience that kind of pain because no matter what, you're going to be in pain. You both were. That's the only takeaway that maybe we didn't talk about in that first call. But I don't know, how's that hit you when you're hearing it right now?
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot more sense. I think if I don't know that I wouldn't have pulled in that specific case, but I
Right.
think if I could have been like, keeping the mindset of just make it to the next aid station, and then decide, it probably would have been a little bit better of a last 15 miles.
Exactly. Because even if you were going to make that, it sounds like you would have made that decision no matter what. But you could have enjoyed that suffering a little. Like you gotta find ways to enjoy suffering, right? You might have enjoyed it just a little bit more. So I
Yeah.
thought that's kind of interesting. But hey, freaking shout out. Recovery. How's it been for y'all? Like, what are you guys noticing? Like, both of you guys pretty light right now. Not doing too much, just kind of active recovery. But what are you guys both noticing right now?
I'm finally figuring out what time of day it is again after like 6 days.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
serious. It's
that
been
bad?
such a struggle.
Mhm.
I get it. You know,
Uh,
when I first got into like personally wanting to do longer stuff than 50K, my kids were really young and I was not willing to give up sleep for these are goofy
right.
goals. Like I wasn't willing to give up sleep for these goals and be a good dad and stuff like that. So now that my kids are a little more self-sufficient, like I'm diving into some bigger things, but the sleep deprivation was the biggest reason why I didn't do longer stuff early on. So I that makes sense for sure. What about body stuff? Is that feeling better?
Yeah, I think everything for me is like starting to definitely feel a lot better. The only thing that's really still sore would be like my feet. My feet are quite sore, and I got some pretty nasty blisters from this one, which is weird because I never get blisters, but they're still on the up and up. But like everything
Mhm.
else is starting to feel really normal.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's what a week now, right?
Hmm.
Mm,
Barely.
barely. Yeah, almost a
Tomorrow,
week.
yeah. That's pretty good.
Mhm.
I mean, joint stuff, it's all expected. You have so many. I work with so many athletes at 50K too. Like people are just ready to get back at it right away because you get the endorphin kick from the run, and then
Mhm.
your engine's burning, and you want to go keep pushing it. But it's always a good idea to just back off a little bit longer than you think. Take a good inventory. Let your body recover. You want to do this for long term, so it's always important. Katie, same question for you.
Um, for body stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, recovery. I It's been interesting with recovery. Like for the most part, my body's doing okay. I still can't feel three of my toes. Like three of my toes are just completely numb. Um, and but and my feet, the swelling has gone down significantly in my feet, which is great. And I've got some issues with the back of my left knee, and um, but for the most part, the body is feeling good. I was laughing. Me and Bailey were texting this morning. I went on a 2 mile walk yesterday just because I just needed to move. And I was shocked about how worn out I was after just a 2 mile walk. and, and just like, it was a good reminder to just like honor the work that I had done. And it was just like a really, even though my mind be like, oh, I want to go back and I want to run, realizing that my body just not ready for that yet. And then that's a sign that the work was done. Like I did the hard thing, and I did that. And I think something that I was I was like aware that I needed to be prepared for was the emotional stuff, but I didn't realize how big the emotional aftermath would be after such a huge effort, from everything from just um, from post race anxiety to just feeling so overwhelmed with joy, to um, to a not understanding, like for like I couldn't do like, I mean, I'm not good at math anyways, but like basic math, I was like, I don't think I could do that. Like, and my brain just not really working in the way that I was, used to like it working. And I was telling a lot of people have asked like, how are you feeling and stuff. And I think that for me, I just had to hold it all just really close to my heart for a few days, just to allow everything to sink in, because it's so easy to in one way, it's like on one day I was running 100 miles and then like 2 days later I was back at work and back in the class. And it was such a strange juxtaposition that it was hard to get used to. It's almost like a culture shock in a way.
Right.
And so just letting just being really patient with myself and letting myself just kind of go through, not just like giving myself my physical body time to just kind of recuperate, but also the emotional side of it. And making sure that a lot of people have asked me like, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to refrain from that, because I want to honor the big thing that just happened and not jump too quickly to the next thing. So that way I don't know, I'm honoring that it was a huge achievement. And so want to give it the space.
Well, it's the idea of earning, the training, earning the race day and all the discomfort and all of the triumph from that. And then earning all the recovery, and the recovery can be physically and mentally painful for a lot of people. And it's why I would have never, ever thought that I never ran more than 4 miles before I was 25 years old. I hated running. I hated anything endurance. I was chasing the ball around,
Same.
Ditto.
It's just crazy that I crave this, because like, we all have some tough times in our life, whether it's business or personal. And I remember after my dad died, like, I don't know, a few days later, I'm one-on-one working with clients in person. My career couldn't stop, and I don't have one of those things where I can just stare at the computer all day long and just check out. And, you guys have to see people in your day-to-day stuff too. And it's just like you did this huge adventure with all these endorphins, and then you came back to what's normal. And sometimes normal doesn't seem that meaningful after you do big stuff. But I think that's important to go through that. So get more people to do stuff that's hard on purpose so they can deal with things that are going to be hard out of your control is friggin' huge. It's something I preach all the time. Can I read a text from you, Katie?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
This is hilarious. Okay. Because I'm going to set this up, because here's the deal. Like, the post-race blues are a real thing. It's the drop off of endorphins, right? And usually what it is, it's like a mini depression. You're kind of sad. You can't go physically exert like you want to, which is how we kind of use our bodies for our mental health and stuff. So I'm expecting like a fairly normal, like, oh, I'm just having the blues. What do you think? Blah, blah. So the day after the race, she's like, hey, Scott, I'm struggling with some post-race anxiety. Can I ask a quick question? So I'm thinking like, I've answered this question 30 times, right? I was like, yeah, I'm free for a little bit. This is freaking hilarious, Bailey, by the way. Yesterday,
I'm so excited.
Yesterday on one of the loops, I fell in behind a runner. Our paces just lined up, and I didn't feel like I had it in me to pass them, so I just stayed behind them for a bit. We didn't really talk, and I didn't ask if it was okay if I was following them. Was that a major party foul? I'm scared that maybe I was being super inconsiderate and that I could have negatively impacted their race. I said, oh, and then sad face. I said, here's my coaching style. Dude, that's not an issue. It happens all the time. It just happens. And we went back and forth after that. That shit was hilarious, dude. You were worried about some random runner in a race with 1,000 people that you might have been inconsiderate because you're running behind them. That's freaking hilarious.
That's because Katie's the most thoughtful human being on this planet. Yeah. She also put that in our group chat, and we were all like, no, like, absolutely not. You're totally fine. Like,
so random. It threw me off a little bit, but then I was cracking up because she wanted to do it via text. And here's I'm pretty sure this is what happened. Her dad was driving her back to California, and she's like, I can't have this conversation out loud in front of another person because it's gonna sound so stupid. Is that what happened?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew that's what happened. I didn't call you on it, but
yeah, I just is like, I got so scared because I was like, oh my gosh, like, and because all rational thought, when you're so depleted that way, you're so depleted emotionally, you're so depleted physically, and so everything turns into this like potential like huge thing. And I was so scared about potentially affecting this other runner's like big achievement by just, following them for a little bit. And I could not, like, how hard I tried so hard to like breathe through it and just like see the rational thing. I just could not do it by myself. And I was like, you know what? Just reach out to the people that you trust the most. They're gonna set you straight.
It's almost
Um,
like driving when like you have somebody pull up to you in the left lane and you do that thing where you pass them, they pass you, and it just starts irritating you because you're like,
right.
I'm in cruise control, dude. So then you just slam on the brakes for like 3 minutes so you never have to see them again. But running is different. Like whatever you had. Like, it's just hilarious.
Right. I was like, I can't pass. Like our paces just lined up so perfectly. And it was just like, I'm gonna stay here. But I didn't talk to them at all. And because we just fell in, and I just felt so like, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't like bother them and ruin their race.
I think
Oh,
everything's just such like a mental blur at that point in time. I know even a couple of days after the race, I was like thinking back on everything, and I was like I'm like asking people, I'm like, did I say thank you for this when I came in, like on my lap too, like from my crew?
yes.
And I'm just like, they're like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I think you did, but like that's what you're thinking about. I'm like, well, I don't want to be one of those people that's like rude to crew, you know?
Right.
Like I said thank you, right?
Right.
That's why you guys are so awesome and get along so well. I mean, how good of friends would you guys say you are right now?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Bailey's
fantastic.
my best. Yeah, Bailey's my best friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I figured it.
Seriously. Like
Days
even
are, yeah.
I love it.
when we were at Javelina, like everyone was like, you two have such like a special bond. And I'm like, the hell yeah, we do.
Yep.
So
And
so I had two other kind of things about this, and if you guys are cool, like I'd love to have you guys just come on every once in a while because we have so many stories just from adventures and training and stuff like that. Like just off the top of the head, like Katie's bear run at night where she was getting charged by bears all night. I want to tell that story, but it's a long story. And then I want to dive in on this one part of your friendship that I think is freaking amazing. That Bailey is a vegan and Katie is a hunter, as am I. And I have so much fun with the idea of this, and you guys are like so tight. So I want to do a whole. I told you guys this before. I want to do a whole. I don't want to put you on the spot. I want you guys to come with like. I want you to come with the receipt. Why you do this? Why you do that? And then we'll have like a fun conversation. Of course, it'll be respectful because we're all cool like that. But I want that to be a whole episode. So we'll do that eventually.
Absolutely.
But
Heck yeah.
I mean, just framing it is freaking hilarious. And then something that is very inaccurate, Bailey messed up and posted the other day, thanking me for the coaching and that I was a good human. You're hilarious. That's great. Great compliment. Really appreciate it. Just don't know me well enough, apparently. But yeah, just huge congrats, you guys. You guys trained your butts off. You guys did great. Such a cool thing. I guess the only question off of the stuff we're talking about today is like, where's your not necessarily in the short term, but do you guys want to test yourselves even more, you think, eventually, without knowing specifics, or are you kind of stepping back a little bit from big stuff? I'm just kind of curious.
For me, it's like an absolutely. I love doing this stuff. I think, I didn't get the 100 miles this time, but I did get the 100K, and that was the longest that I've ever been. And like every time you reach a new level of just pushing yourself, the reward that you get from it is just amazing. It's so much self-confidence, it's so much joy, excitement. And I mean, even the recovery, as we're all like hobbling around the Airbnb, it's like I earned this monster walk. Like this is like this didn't just come out of nowhere. Like I did something really cool to get to be able to do this. Like it's amazing that we've trained for quite a while now, and like we get to do these things now. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what else is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I couldn't agree more that I'm to that point now where I can't imagine a life without continuing to push myself and do these big efforts and do these big miles. And even I was just thinking this morning on the way in to work, I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can do a sub 24 hours. Like, I think I could probably do that. I could probably knock off a couple hours off my 26 or whatever my time was. And of just thinking about that next thing. And I think one of the biggest things for me for this race was just knowing that I could do the hard thing. Knowing that life is going to throw hard things at me, not just endurance, not just 100 miles, and not just, physical stuff, but like that, knowing that I can just keep moving despite how painful something was. And I remember being out on course and getting moments of doubt, and I would just say the words no out loud whenever like that doubt would come in. I would just stop the thought. And it's an addictive feeling in a way to just to continue to push yourself and see what your body and ultimately what your mind is capable of in those extreme circumstances. And I don't think you need to run 100 miles to know that about yourself, or to test yourself in that way. But man, part of me thinks, I'm like, gosh, what else is possible? Like, what else could I do? Like, if I can do this, like, what else? And just being, gosh, stupid thankful for that I have a body that can do that and that can keep pushing. And my plan is just to push it to its absolute limit, because I only get one life. I got one body, so I'm gonna see what it can do.
Yeah.
I love it, y'all. You guys, we all have, everybody's attracted to similar mindsets in this world, and hopefully I did something right to get people around me like you guys. It's been awesome coaching. We'll keep pushing a little bit. All right, so I have a couple other things. You guys got a few minutes?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So on all these, I'm doing a resource, and they're completely random, and then doing a workout, like just giving people more ideas for their own fitness. And it's not necessarily endurance athletes, it's for everybody. So the last resource was Substack. If you guys haven't checked out Substack, it's a cool website, and you get to see, it's long form content, generally speaking, and a lot of good writers on there. It's just it's like a blog platform. It's just a little cleaner than they used to be. So check that out. But the one today is actually this little thing right here, this little caffeine fizzy drink. I have a huge caffeine problem, y'all. It's ridiculous. And I've weighed myself off for months at a time before, and it's not very comfortable. Like, you get that headache for a couple days. It's really
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I feel, after about a week, your energy, your homeostatic piece of my headspace is higher than it is with like caffeine. You get the ups and the downs, right?
Yeah.
I felt and there's science to agree with this as well, but your average energy just seems to be better and focus and stuff. But caffeine's a great tool, and it's effective, and especially when you're sitting down to write and do things you need focus. For the amount of focus that I have, I'm a little scatterbrained, if you haven't noticed. So I'm weaning myself off. These little fizzy drinks, no sugar in them, sugar addict as well, and only like 30 milligrams of like tea caffeine. So this is mango and black tea. But if you're trying to wane and just like get away from the heavy caffeine in the middle of the day that makes you freaking jittery and psychotic, something with a little bit less in there, depending on your sensitivity. Like, I could drink a pot of coffee and go to bed, no problem. But a lot of people can't do that. So this is my little resource. It doesn't have to be any kind of brand. There's a bunch of them out there now, but it's helped me a lot. As you can tell, very low energy today. And then we have and then what was it like before, everybody's wondering, right? And then the workout. This is a great set. I actually did this with the client yesterday. With my in-person clients, the ones that are a little more fit, I'll hop in with a set probably once every 5 or 6 sessions, just to see where they're at, and making sure that what I think I'm giving them is as hard or as easy or whatever it should be. And usually I just run them into the ground, which is really fun. But this one, this is a treadmill. This is a treadmill set. You can do it outside too, but it's easier on a treadmill. Lots of people going into the winter right now, access to gyms. So it's a 1-to-1 interval, and one person's on the treadmill, one person's recovering. And basically the way I do it is, like, with about 2 seconds left, whoever's on the treadmill hops on, the other one gets on right away. And you can do any format that you want, but I'll give you guys the one that we did yesterday. We did a warm up at 4 miles per hour and 5 miles per hour. So you do a 4, a 5, 2 6s, 2 7s, 2 8s, a 9, and a 10. And based on your fitness level, like, I'm way better running shape than my client is. So like, the last couple weren't bad for me. I gave him a little bit extra in between some of those, but the point is, after about 4 of those, the last 6 efforts should be pretty freaking high effort. Like, you need every second of that minute and probably more before you get back on the treadmill. For stuff that you guys are training for, it would be like let's hike that friggin' incline up a little bit and go at 6 miles per hour at 9%, 10%, 11%. Like you can hike up the percent instead of the speed play, mess around with it, have fun with it. Just make sure that the intensity increases every single time. It's a great set, and it's fun because you're with somebody else, and you can push each other a little bit, talk a little shit, you know what I'm saying? So that's a really good set for you guys. And yeah, good show today. Good stuff from Bailey and Katie. Thank you guys for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Scott.
having us.
Yeah, everybody else listening, athleteonfire.com. Not as important as just going to the podcast page and give us a little love over there. I was telling Cal, who I had on the other day, I don't think I've asked for a review in like 5 years for this project. So just trying to get the listenership back up and just share some positive stories with some positive people. It's been pretty cool. Thanks a lot, y'all.
Thank you,
Don't
Scott.
leave. Don't leave.